We're back. It is Wednesday night at 8 p.m. It's another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast live. And we are going to talk about anger tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to get into it. I got a special guest tonight. As you come in, please share and invite with your friends and family because there's a lot of things that you're going to learn tonight. It's not going to be a long show, but it's going to be an impactful show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 30 seconds to make sure everything is going where it's supposed to go. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. So give me about 30 seconds. I'll be right back and we're going to get started. Welcome to the show, guys.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo, ayy.
It's the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. So this is what we're going to do, guys. We're going to talk about, we had an episode last week called What's Going On? And we talked about everything that's going on with the protesting and with the George Floyd killing and everything surrounding that. We even talked about solutions. This part 2 is really going to be about the healing process and what we do with that anger and how we channel that energy into something that can be meaningful for you and for your family and your community, right? So what we're going to do is, if you're new to the show and if you're old to the show, let us know you're here. Say hello. Let us know where you're chiming in from. And we're going to get into the podcast. And so this is a live podcast recording. So what I will do is I will pause for 3 seconds. We're going to start the podcast. When we finish the podcast, I'm going to pause for another 3 seconds. And we can kind of speak freely on the other side of that if we have time. If you have any questions or comments, I will address them during the show if they're pertinent to the topic. So we are going to get started. So give me my 3 seconds and we're going to get started. So stand by. And welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones and I am your host. I am a certified life coach and engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And here, we always say better relationships need better ingredients. So tonight, this is What's Going On part 2. And we're going to talk about turning your anger into focus, because it's always the reason why I wanted to do this is because a lot of times we talk about the things that are happening, the tragic murder of Mr. George Floyd. We looked at the protests, we looked at the rioting, we looked at the looting. But we never really sit back and talk about the emotions that we feel. And one of the larger emotions that a lot of us feel is anger and frustration. And what do we do with that? Do we take it home? Do we give it to our kids without any context? And so I have a special guest tonight who just happens to be a family member of mine. He's my cousin, Mr. Kent Logan. I'm going to bring him up. So give me a second to bring him up. And we are going to talk this out and see if we can get to a place where we can start focusing that anger and that negative energy that we have right now inside of us. Welcome to the show, Mr. Logan.
What's up, man?
Just for a second, just let people know why it's important for you to talk about this particular topic tonight. You were on the first show, but we brought you back. So just let people know why this is important to talk about.
Yeah, man, it's important to talk about, man. People have to understand how to channel their anger. Can't just be angry the whole time. You know, you got to go through that process and then start finding solutions. You know what I'm saying? And I think the better we learn how to deal with that, the more effective we'll become in getting things done.
Right.
You know,
So we're going to get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, those of you who are watching through the live stream, just kind of let us know you're here. Feel free to comment and I'll address them on a case-by-case basis. So let's just talk about anger in general real quick. And what I like to do with this show is sometimes I'll have a panel of experts, but most of the time I'll just have real people that are able to have a dialogue with you so that you can identify better, so that you understand that it's not just you. A lot of us right now are dealing with a lot of anger and frustration, and we don't know what to do. And oh my God, this is horrible. And how do we fix it? And you know, like I said on the last show, I find myself in a perpetual state of just scrolling and reading. And I found myself getting caught up in the comments on one of these posts, and I was just knee deep in the comments, and I was just getting more pissed. And the more pissed I got, the more I kept scrolling, right? Because I'm looking for the next comment, like who's saying this, who's saying that. And I wouldn't necessarily, I guess for me, it's more frustration than like straight up anger, but it's like, it's almost kind of like, we know that there are people out here in the country that have, you know, ill intent, they're racist, you know, a lot of ignorance out here. And it's like, we know it's out here, but now that we have social media, we can actually like see and hear them, and they don't have any fear of talking about it. And rightfully so. The world revolves around them for the most part, so they don't have no fear of any retribution or repercussion. Then it's just the audacity of it. Have you seen any of that kind of stuff online, Kent? I know you have.
Yeah, man. Nowadays when I see it, man, I usually walk away from it. You know what I'm saying? Like a few years ago, you'd have caught me, man. 100 comment long posts. You know what I'm saying? Just going back and forth with people arguing, cussing whoever cussing me out, and we just is all out Royal Rumble. You know what I'm saying? But
it consumes you.
Yeah.
So, anger in general, right? When we talk about being in this case, you know, we have COVID going on, and we at home, so we got even more time to stew in it. We don't have a bunch of stuff to keep us busy, and we're just like, and I would call it a perpetual state of being angry. It's like every day, like it's not a moment. Like sometimes you may have an argument or something, and it's a moment, but this is like every day. You got to, and the news is on, and people are feeling away, and they're protesting, and they're doing all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people don't realize when you are in that perpetual state of anger, it starts to affect you physically. You know, your blood pressure goes up, stress, all those hormones start kicking in, adrenaline and all of that. And you keep staying on that. We all know what high blood pressure does. We all know what stress does. It's all mixed in with all of this. And so we have to be careful about that. And so like for me, like we're both just going to talk about our relationship to anger, and then we're going to talk about some solutions that we found to, you know, separately about how we kind of deal with it, how we've kind of gotten from a point of living in that moment and just staying in it. And so like for me, I tend to be more patient than most of the time. You know, as the older I get, that patience ain't really there like it used to be, but I used to be able to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders and just kind of keep it in. But that's also another flaw. Keeping it in doesn't help either, right? You gotta, and we'll talk about the other side of it later, but you got to get it out some way, somehow. And we're going to talk about that. But like for me, the way that I have to talk to myself inside my head about anger, like if something frustrates me or I get really angry, I really don't do rage, but I do anger and frustration hardcore if something really get to me. But what I had to tell myself inside my head was, if the person or the situation has the ability to take me that much off of my character, I'm letting them have more control over me than I do. And I don't allow that. I'm in control of me. So, you know, nobody's perfect, but I have to keep telling myself, they running me right now. And I'm a grown man. You ain't gonna run me. You're not gonna control my anger. I'm gonna go ahead and let you punch the air like Boys in the Hood. I'm gonna let you punch the air by yourself. You're gonna be by yourself on that, and eventually it'll dissipate. I don't unless I have to, right? You mess with my family, you do something like that, then something gonna happen. But other than that, I'm not gonna allow you to control me. It's hard to do. It took me a long time to get there, but once I started going in my head about they're controlling my mode, I'm giving them what they want. You know how people always talk about the comments, you respond back, you giving them what they want. We be giving people what they want, and we're not focusing that energy into something that could be productive. So I want you to talk a little bit about, you know, maybe some periods in your life where anger kind of consumed you, maybe, and then we're going and then I'll let you segue into how you rectified it, and then I'll go ahead and add in my point too on the back.
Man, that's damn near every year of my life. No, all my life I had to fight. No, I was playing, but yeah, man. I did used to have a bad temper. You know what I'm saying? Still working on that. Not to the point it's like crazy or nothing like that, but just you go off on people. You know what I'm saying? If it don't sound logical, you don't got no patience for it. You know what I'm saying? And you just have to learn how to, like you said, just don't let the person control you. Don't let people control you, even with the racism that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you gotta stand up for yourself. That's first and foremost. But you also have to think in ways of beating it without making a bad decision that's going to cost you in the end. You know what I'm saying? So I think for the most part, when I used to get angry, I'm just thinking off of impulse, like do what you got to do to get back, or do what you got to do to you get the last word, this, that, and the third. When if you start thinking solutions first, you know what I'm saying, or even after about 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, you start thinking solutions and what can I do to solve this problem or this issue, then you save yourself a whole bunch of time and drama. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about thinking first, man. And that's hard to do when you're in the heat of battle, you know what I'm saying? But once you master that, like patience, that's something I had to learn. Like, cuz I had to learn that last couple of months. Like, but once you get there, man, I mean, it was a good learning lesson. And once you get to that point where you have a lot of patience with things and situations, you do become more peaceful. You know what I'm saying? You do make more good decisions, better decisions. And it makes you feel better. And then you end up using that same energy that you would have used to get back or fight back to do something productive. You know what I'm saying? Create something, listen to some music, create a business, focus on your finance, things of that nature.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing I do want to touch on too, because a lot of, discussions about racism come up, and a lot of people, well, most Black people understand, but a lot of times people don't realize where all of the ferocity of this anger comes from. And it's because the frustration and the anger is something that we keep on a rolling basis for most of our lives when it comes to racism. And a lot of times we got to bite our tongue, bite our lip. We can't say how we really feel. And you got to sit on that. And those people who are into like the comic book movies, the Incredible Hulk, there was this one point where the guy who turned into the Incredible Hulk, they was like, how do you, the Incredible Hulk turns into this big, kind of like monster whenever he gets really angry. And there was a point where he was able to just kind of turn into it when he felt like it. And they was like, how do you do that? Nobody made you angry. And he was like, I'm always angry so that I can control it, because I'm always in a perpetual state of being angry. I don't have to, be docile and then get angry. I'm always angry. And that is kind of sort of like how we kind of have to live every day. And a lot of times people, I just want to touch on this for a minute, because I think people who haven't lived the experience of having to deal with it on a rolling basis for your entire life, and because you are put into situations where you're at work or whatever, where you can't really, like, you feel like you can't really voice your opinion, but you got to, and I talked about this on the last show, you still got to bring the paycheck home. And because they don't hear you shouting all the time, they think it's not there. And then it becomes normalized for them, and it becomes normalized for you. So when it happens the next time, you try to brush it off and keep it moving, but the pain is still there. So when this stuff, something like this happens, it's like you removing a scab over and over and over and over again, and that stuff piles up over time. Like, I just dealt with some racist stuff. Let me say this. Let me be tactful about this. I dealt with some stuff last week, and I was just like, it's still happening. Like, the respect still isn't there, and the stuff that I deal with on a regular basis, like I've been employed at the place that I'm at for like 20 years, right? I'm the vet, right? There's people walk down the hallway like you don't even exist. And I know a lot of people that deal with this, and they want to know why you there. How you get this job? I'm like, I've been here longer than you. What are you talking about? How did you get this? I don't understand. And they don't have no cut cards about asking you that. And you say hello and they don't say hello. You get in the elevator when they got to get in the corner, the women, and they're like, and I'm looking at them like, do I got a whole badge on just like you. I got what's the problem? And it's like, and a lot of times some of them they'll be running towards the elevator and then they'll stop in their tracks. And then they like, I don't want to get on it with him. And it happens all the time. And we got to eat that, right? Because if you shout too loud, then they're going to be like, oh, he's the angry black man. And we might have to find a way to let him, like, this is just a small little piece of the stuff that we deal with that people don't understand. So when you finally get to the point where you've had enough, like with these killings, and we've had enough with this stuff with the police, and we had enough with the racism, and they're like, where's this coming from? It's a lifetime of pain. So when we talk about anger, it comes from a real place about when it comes to this. But the show tonight is about once you are living in that anger moment, how do you use it? And so, like for me, and I know a lot of people can relate to this, a lot of times when a lot of us get angry, on the other side of the anger, you got a clean ass house. you be vacuuming, cleaning up stuff. You displacing that anger. And even though it comes from a negative place, the other side of it is that you were able to do some stuff, or you went and did some stuff for your job, or you did whatever to get your mind off of it, right? This is the key. You got to get your mind focused on something so that the anger gets displaced so that you can focus on a solution. If you live in the anger, that negative energy is contagious, like the coronavirus. Everybody around you don't catch it. You got some little kids, they're going to feel that. They're going to want to know why, and you can't tell them because you don't want them to, know what you're going through. But sometimes even something as simple as, how when you get pissed off and you got to talk it out. Did I react the wrong way? And let me tell you this scenario. Once you start talking it out, then you start to feel the pressure come off. And all you did was talk about it. Some of us got to clean up. We got to paint the rooms and vacuum and wash some dishes. And then after the end of it, you be like, I feel better, and my whole house is clean
already. Turn it, gotta channel that into something productive, man. Channeling that energy, and that's an art, man. If you could turn that into that, what I'm saying, that's a good thing.
And also, I mean, we're not going to talk about solutions. We did that last week, but even to this particular problem that's going on around the world is channeling it into trying to be creative about finding solutions. And like I said in the last show, you can't look at the solution as an individual as this big thing to tackle because you won't tackle it. Start with your street, start with your neighborhood, start with your community, start with your county, and then let that build out exponentially. Because just real quick, off the last show, I said, once you show an example of what it can look like, if your county shows what it's, then the next county is going to want to be like that. That's how we built. Unfortunately, a lot of us like to follow whatever is the thing that's popping. So be the thing that's popping. Right. Be the thing that's popping. And I have a comment from Michelle Ford on Facebook. She said, yes, the looks I used to get when people found out that I was the IT manager like you, and they would walk past me, go to the white guy, then the white guy would have to come to me for help. You get used to it, but it takes a toll. Absolutely. I know exactly, come on, most of us know how this feels, but most of us haven't had the opportunity to kind of talk about it. And the ignorance of people, my pet peeve is if I'm 10 inches away from you and I say good morning and you walk past me, you can't even look me in the face. It's only certain people, right? Only certain people. And it's like, I'm not new. Real quick, I had a guy one day. I had left my badge at home, so I need to call my coworker to kind of let me in or whatever, right? And this guy saw me in the hallway trying to, call my coworker. I'm standing outside. Right. He lets me in, right? I'm thinking he must recognize me, right? He lets me in, but it wasn't the door that was closest to my office. He lets me in, so I had to walk all the way around the whole thing to get to my office, but cool, I was in. The whole time, he was tiptoeing behind me all the way around the whole hallway, trying to see where I was going.
Oh man.
And I'm
like you didn't work there.
yeah. And I was like, yo, my office, my name is on the door, right? So so the dude kept following me. And I'm thinking to myself, if you thought that this was an unsafe thing to do, why did you even let me in?
Right.
Right. So by the time he gets all the way around to my office, I turned around and I was triggered. So I was like, I work it just like you do. Down the whole hallway. And I was like, is there a problem? And he was like, well, you didn't have your badge. I'm like, well, you let me in though. So what's the problem? Like I'm not new here. Ooh, I was fired up that day.
Sometimes they need that though. Like I ain't gonna front, like, you know what I'm saying? You know, people like, say if I say good morning and a person see me say that and I see them, they see me, they don't say nothing. I sometimes get ignorant, like, hey, what's up? You heard me, right? You know what I'm saying? You know,
these are the things that's not on paper. So people are like, well, I didn't see it happen. So no, we deal with this all the time. So when I talk about a perpetual state of being frustrated, we got to keep that muted down just to be able to walk around society, walk around. Because if I was able to just kind of shout from the rooftops every time I felt offended or frustrated or some racist stuff happened, I'd be doing it every day.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't even be able to like do this because I'd be so pissed. And it sucks sometimes when you work so hard and you still invisible, right? And you doing all this stuff and you're not doing it for them, but the human being respect, that's the least you can do. And it's like, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, because that just made me think of something, man. And a lot of the anger that people are feeling, and I know because I can relate, man, is, and we're dealing with the police, is you in that mode where you can't say nothing back. And if you say something back, they're going to slap something on you that don't got nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying, a disorderly conduct just for raising your voice or something like that. And they push you might nudge back and now you fighting, resisting, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of the anger that a lot of the people are having, I understand it, you know what I'm saying, even more, even when I think I haven't had to deal with it in a long time, but I understand it even more now, just thinking back on it, to where, yeah, they do want to like, we get to hit them back and they can't do nothing. Throw the little rock or something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and I get so pissed off when people complain about people resisting. And they don't understand why they're not going to just follow every single thing that they say all the time. And there's some people that genuinely need to be, cuffed up, but people don't realize when you live your life in a perpetual state of conforming to make other people comfortable,
right?
The last thing you want to do is be in a situation where you know that you might be right about a situation, and in this case, a police officer is telling you to conform again. Just do what I say. Conform. It hurts because this is not the person that's supposed to be doing that. They supposed to be looking out for your best. And we had a traffic stop. I didn't rob a bank. Like, what's the problem?
Right.
And it's like, I still got to conform. Still, I got to go to work and conform. I got to go to the mall and conform. I can't dress a certain way because they're going to look at me like this. If I do this, like, you know how difficult it is to control your movements for somebody else?
I remember one time I was like, excuse me, what's your name, officer? And he just walked off on me and just walked off to the car and drove off like, okay. But yeah, man. So, and a lot of times, man, I think another thing we got to think, cause is people have their own things going on. Like sometimes it don't even be you. Yeah. Like if you go to work and somebody don't speak or whatever, sometimes they might have just got through, you know what I'm saying, having an argument with their wife or something, but they about to leave them or something. So you can't even look at them like, hey, you ain't say good morning, because it might be something they going through at the end of the day.
Man, I'm gonna push back on that just a little bit though. When you doing it for 10 years, you don't get no pass from me. But that's just how I'm built. But like I always try to tell people, to piggyback on what you said, you don't know what people are going through, you don't know what their experiences are, and sometimes our emotions get the best of us and we're judging the situation right in those 2 seconds and we don't even realize where it came from. And sometimes your reaction could be something that's so detrimental that you can get arrested for, or you know, you see these people out here fighting and banging people's heads up against the sidewalk, and I'm like, you know, at some point that one bang is gonna crack their head open, and then you going to jail for murder.
Exactly.
And you got a family at home. Like, there's no human being out here unless you threatening my family or my kid or something. Other than that, it's not worth
any fight can turn deadly.
The anger is not worth losing what you have. And people need to realize you can prove how tough you are all day, but somebody said something to you. Now you want to punch them in the face. Okay, cool. That anger, the whole point of this show is taking that, understanding what it is, understanding what triggered it, and then working on a better way to funnel and channel it into something that could be productive. Because if you don't, it's a miserable life to living like that. Like I always talk about these thugs, and they hard, and they supposed to be angry all the time, and they got to walk around with a snarl. You know how hard it is to snarl 24 hours a day, every day? Come on, man. Stop it. There's for what? So that took me to a place because I'm like, how you walking around angry all the time?
It's crazy because as a young man, bro, like just growing up, when you in those, say you at the club, you in one of the trap spots, the club that play the trap music, and you don't want to be in there smiling and shit on, you know what I'm saying? They gonna be looking, man, who this goofy dude over here? You know what I'm saying? So you kind of got to put that, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to smile, you don't want to, but it just, I don't know, it's a culture or something like that, man. A bunch of angry or pretending to be angry, you know what I'm saying? Dudes that want to be tough.
That's why I got the t-shirts and everything, the peace of mind over everything. It took me most of my life to realize how important peace of mind is, but you have to keep that peace for yourself, or it's going to affect everything around you. And that energy means everything. And so we're going to talk about now, we're going to segue into different types of ways that you can channel it, different types of ways that you can calm yourself. Because there's a lot of people out here that don't know where to put it. And first and foremost, like I said earlier, just talking it out. Sometimes something as simple as talking it out. And we always talk about meditation. And just to keep it real, meditation isn't always the easiest thing for people to do. You got so much stuff going on. But if you could find a way to meditate, like I always talked about on some prior shows, I tried the waves crashing music and the little soft, whatever type of music and having the person, speak all the affirmations. It didn't do nothing for me. I couldn't, it just didn't do nothing for me. And I was like, this is supposed to be calming me down. It's not. And what I realized for me, this is just my personal thing. And I talked about this before, listening to like music.
Man, I was just about to say that.
Like for me, you put on some 90s R&B, some 90s hip, and it just puts you in the zone. Like whatever your genre of music it is, like you put me in a room with that music and I'm vibing off of that music, then that stress starts to come off. And that's the way that I meditate. Other people, they gotta do the whole, I can't do that. I tried to do the whole. They got this thing. I guess it's from. I don't even know. Don't give me the line. The singing bowl, the thing that make the little whistling noise. I tried it.
I can't.
I was just like, I can't. It just didn't. Yeah, I don't talk about some ways that you're able to calm yourself down when you get angry.
Yeah, see, I can't do the whole sitting, you know what I'm saying, for 30, 40 minutes, man. Give me some jazz and some cognac, man, and I'm chilling, man. Give me my PlayStation. No, but then you don't even want that to become a coping mechanism or whatever. So you got to just, find something creative. For me, it's just finding something creative, listening to some music, some jazz, PlayStation, man. Get on that Call of Duty and we just be going in. And then I don't even be thinking about nothing else at that point. But
right.
Other than that, just thinking of solutions. You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, I'm gonna do this. All right, put the numbers down on there. I'm gonna pay this bill. I'm gonna do that. Just coming up with something to fix the problem.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta take yourself out of the element for a while, calm down, regroup, and figure out how you're gonna deal with it. Because I've dealt just even since I've been the life coach or whatever, I've talked to so many people that are like, ready to destroy friendships over one conversation and I was like, back up a little bit. I had this one person who had this spat with this person that they've been rocking with for a while, and they was just like, I'm done. We was both drunk, and I was like, oh, there we go. That's number one. And I was like, this person and you been hanging thick as thieves in that one conversation while you was drunk is going to derail the whole thing. And this woman was, like, I would never talk to her again. And I was like, both of y'all sober up. And then y'all have a conversation about it. And I guarantee you, once you talk it out, you're going to realize how stupid this is. And when they did talk, they worked it out. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, that communication is key. Even if you in a situation where the person that's sometimes, because some people, you supposed to forgive yourself and all that, but sometimes some people you just need to stay away from. But if it's a situation where you got to communicate with them, then you gotta let them know how you feel so that they at least understand, right? It may not work out, but at least they understand where you're coming from. And then it absolves you of having to keep feeling like that. Because you're walking around feeling like somebody slighted you and you can't even do, you ain't playing with your kid at home. You staying pissed off and it's a week later. And it's like, that's why I said it affects your environment. We don't realize it because we would just want to sit in it and be mad and pissed. And I'm gonna get them back. And what are you really gonna do? Like, what are you really gonna do to get them back that's gonna be fruitful for you? Right. At the end, other than feeling like you got vindicated, you what are you really gonna do? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how long is that vindication which you had to go, the thought process you had to go through to figure out how to get them back? That energy is wasted now.
And that don't hurt nobody but the person doing that at the end of the day. Like, the hate don't hurt nobody but the person doing the hating. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why I said, when you consume yourself, it turns you into something that you're not. And then it controls you. I got a problem with something controlling me like that, especially anger. I can't let it do that to me because I have a responsibility to not just myself, but to my family and anybody that I'm responsible for, anybody that I'm around. I can't come in there all on some snarling. And I got a kid looking up to me, talking about, what are we doing today? And I'm like, just give me a minute. I gotta hold on. She don't deserve that. I always tell people, in my life, I always tell people, number one, I ain't do that. So I don't know where this coming from, but it ain't. Keep it over there.
Right.
You may want to go take a break, but we're not doing that because it messes up the whole mode. I did a show a long time ago where I talked about how if you come into a room with negative energy, it's like a vampire biting everybody. Everybody's going to then assume the anger that you had. Now you fighting with everybody in the room and it came from that one person. Stop it. I just don't, I can't. And a lot of people need to really understand that anger becomes something else over time, even with, just to bring it home, even with what's going on with the police brutality and the killing of George Floyd and all of that. Mm-hmm. When you live in that anger, that means every time you see somebody that ain't your skin color, you ready to jump off. How you think that's going to end? Really? Like, what do you think is going to come out of that? Or do you sit back and try to find a way to figure it out where you don't have to go to jail?
Right.
That's what it's going to end up being.
That's true. So, you don't want it to get you to a point where you just start thinking irrational and that becomes you. You know what I'm saying? You become, just a problem walking, picking time bomb. Like, nobody wants to be that at the end of the day, man.
Yeah. You're going to be popping Tylenol every day because your head hurting. Like, come on. I've been there. That stress and anger, that you be taking migraine pills and looking crazy. And you could have just sat back and took some breaths and thought about it. And so we're going to start wrapping it up now. But I really wanted to bring this home today because I legit was angry looking at that comment stream today. And it was just me reading words. And I was just like, yo, I'm looking at the clock and 30, 45 minutes to pass by. And I'm like, I'm doing exactly what I said I would never do, and I'm letting this control my whole mood right now. And I'm looking at the phone, people talking to me. They're like, "What are you doing? You didn't respond." I'm like, "Yo, I'm in these comments, and they saying this, and it takes over." And I know it's a lot of you out there that's going through that right now, because you can't even get regular stuff on your social media now. It's all this. It's all of this stuff that's going on. And it consumes you. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on positively around the nation. There's a lot of stuff going on negatively around the nation. But like I said, the thing that angers me the most is that even with all of this stuff, these folks are still out here just like, so what? I don't care. You know, and it's like, how? Like you be thinking how, but then it's like they've been taught this way their whole lives, so they don't know any better. They don't know any different. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, what I was going to say, it's easy for them to do that because they're not right there in front of you. They don't have to be around nobody when they're typing this. So yeah, they're going to say they're like in Canada or Ohio somewhere in the village, you know what I'm saying, somewhere tucked off. Yeah. When they in the vicinity of some people and they say that, then I'll take it seriously. But like I don't even really take them seriously when they just going off like that.
Yeah. So, you know, the moral to the story, guys, listeners on the video, listeners on the audio, is it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to stay angry. Put that's the quotable of the day. It's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to stay angry. Staying angry doesn't benefit you, but the anger in itself is an emotion. It allows you to kind of catch yourself and react to certain things. But staying in a perpetual state of anger, even though I know this, especially with racism, it's hard to say that, but you got to be able to be more productive in what you're doing. A lot of us aren't going to be, standing in front of the courthouse on the microphone or whatever, but it's stuff you can do. It's stuff, little things you can do. Start with your kids, educating your kids on this. That's step number one. Educate your family about this, the people that are close to you, and just let it grow. Let it grow. Don't stay so angry that it halts your growth. Mm-hmm. That's a nugget for your relationship. That's a nugget for everything you do. If you're in a relationship, this relationship gumbo, let's do this real quick. If you're in a relationship and you're in a perpetual state of being angry and you don't talk it out and you don't fix it, it's a detriment to everything that you're trying to accomplish being in a relationship. You might as well leave if you're going to be angry every day all the time. At some point, you got to let it go and you got to work on trying to grow and fix it. And that's just a life lesson. There's things that I still got to learn, right? We're human. We have emotions, but once you know what a thing is, now you have the ammo to go ahead and fix it. And so, like I said, some people walk around with stuff that's even stronger than anger, like rage. They used to be on some straight rage. That right there, that's a hospital visit over time. You got to release that. So I'm going to let you have the last words. Any comments, any suggestions you have for people? I don't see too many questions coming up now, so I'm going to let you have the last word and we're going to get out of here.
Yeah, man. Just like you sure say, man, peace of mind over everything, man. Just find ways to be productive. Don't just take this thing that's happened over the last couple of days, these riots and stuff, learn from it. You know what I'm saying? Actually apply. Like if you're saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, apply that. You know what I'm saying? Find ways to do it within your own household and your own community. You know what I'm saying? Much love to everybody. Peace and love and all that. And, peace out.
We are definitely glad that you were able to come back a second time. We're going to have you back again. And, we related by blood. So we're going to keep talking because this is what you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen. Just like any family, you don't always talk all the time, but the conversations that Kent and I have are therapeutic for both of us, right? This is a lesson. You gotta, if you have somebody that you can talk to about anything, whether it's anger or even just your mental health or anything, it helps to talk it out. And once you talk it out, sometimes just having that extra ear or having that extra voice kind of shifts the tide sometimes. And that's kind of the relationship that Kent and I have kind of built. We kind of check on each other, make sure, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I could literally be in a state where I may be angry, and I could be like, man, I'm pissed off about these comments. And then he could come in and be like, man, don't let that stuff get to you, man. You better go focus on your podcast or something. Get that thing off your mind. And we are on this planet to be connected to each other. But somehow we always find a way to just detach from people because we don't know what their motive is. And we starting to lose that, where we've been losing it for a while. And we need to get back to that because we need each other to heal. A lot of us think that we can heal ourselves, and it's just not possible sometimes because you may not have the tools. And that's why you have coaches and therapists and counselors and all these other type of people that's trained to help. And we think we can do it on our own. Start with a friend, start with a family member, just talk it out and let that stuff go. Because you hold on to it. It's people out here that have grudges and anger against people for like 2 decades, and they just sitting in it. Every time I see them, it's all like, I'm like, you 45. The hell, what is the problem?
And they ain't did nothing yet.
But anyway, we gonna get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you go to www.relationshipgumbo.net and check everything out. And this concludes the podcast portion. You guys have a great night. All right, podcast is over. Anybody got any questions, comments? Feel free. We're gonna get out of here. Thanks again, Kent, for showing up and just having a dialogue. As usual, everybody, I try my best to just keep these conversations organic and not robotic and not, I used to do, like I always tell people, I used to do all these outlines and it just didn't. I wanted to come from your soul. So I think we accomplished that tonight. Whatever your relationship is to anger, figure out ways how to dissipate that anger, because it's really tough. It's really tough. Michelle Ford says they're holding a grudge, and the person that they're holding a grudge against is happy and living life.
Right. I'm saying the hate only hurt the person that's doing the hating, and
exactly
that person over there having on vacation somewhere, drinking and sipping.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that, and they hold it. They hold, like, how it affects your whole spirit and your soul. Like I keep saying, we run into these people all the time, and it just feels evil. Like, how can you be mad still? What's the problem? What can I do to help you? Because Jesus, like, how are you snapping at everything? You snapping at little kids on the street and old people, and I'm like, what's the problem? Like, what's really going on? And you know that there's something deeper, but it's like,
it got to be something deeper.
It's so many people out here just living with that. Mm-hmm. And it's so detrimental. And then your kids end up being that too.
Right.
And that's the part that hurts.
That's why remember that, I think I told you about that book, Law of Human Nature or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he actually go into that, man. Like, it's a lot of problems they dealt with at the youth level. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just growing up. And when you become an adult, now you have this person that's this way, and you're like, well, damn, why they mad all the time? But it's something happened when they was over time, Yeah,
so, that's what I always say. It's the gift that you don't realize you giving to your kids, and you thinking that you handling it and you containing it, and they absorbing every single drop of it. And then they grow up and they angry. And you're like, what's wrong with you? Now look in the mirror. That was learned behavior. Stop it.
We need therapy, man. Black people need to them therapy.
We all need it, for real. Let's be clear. Whenever you dealing with the stuff like what Michelle talked about at work, or what I'm dealing with at work, and how we try to compartmentalize it, and sometimes you got to bite your lip, and then you walk out and you go into the mall and you dealing with other stuff, and they want to make sure you ain't trying to steal nothing. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain level of trauma that comes with that. Like, you're walking around
feeling guilty
because you don't even know how to be. Like, are they gonna look at me a certain way because I got this hat on, or do I, turn my hat this way, make sure they not? And you thinking in your head, it's unfortunate, but you're thinking in your head, what's the best way for me to make them comfortable? Isn't that crazy?
Right quick, man. I remember when I was young, man, my grandmama used to be like, get your hands out your pockets, man. When we was walking through the store, like, get your hand out your pockets. I'm like, grandma, I want my hand in my pockets, but they gonna think you're stealing. I'm like, but I ain't stole nothing. Just like that, man. It's like we already conditioned to, like you said last time, make them feel comfortable or make, you know what I mean?
It sucks, man. Oh, it sucks. I wish, like, if and you know what the thing is, if we all talked about everything that we have to deal with on an everyday basis and just made that public, the world would be shocked. Right. They really, like, when these people are like, y'all don't go through nothing. All you got to do is work hard. And I'm like, no. It goes way deeper than that. Mm-hmm. And until you realize that it becomes something else. Like the comment stream that I was talking about earlier was about white privilege and all these people like, there's no such thing. And oh my God, I'm poor too. And I'm like, y'all still ain't listening. Y'all still don't like, and it was just bothering me because they just knew they was right and they pulling out all these statistics and do it. And I was like, it's not about money. It's not about money. It's not about money. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. But that's why half of them out there marching though on some real stuff. A lot of them ain't out there for George Floyd and police brutality. A lot of them out there because of these jobs, and they have a common enemy that we have in the whole thing. So you know.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot going on, and that's why I wanted again to have this show, because if we don't focus this energy into something that can grow from this, then it's all for nothing. Like, you see all of these things going on, and these companies are pledging this amount of money to here, and they doing all of this. We know what that's about. But if you got $100 million going somewhere, I'm gonna need to talk to the people that's accountable for that, because we need to make some change for real. Right. I know why you gave up the $100 million, but what are we really doing with this? Like, what's really gonna happen with that money? And it's really like, it's unfortunate but fortunate at the same time. And I hate to even say it, but like, the things that have happened after George Floyd died, the marching, the protesting, the looting, the fires, and the job, people like, oh my God, the small business owners, and they're losing, they work their whole life, and this is crazy. And then on top of all of that, the undercurrent is COVID, right? Mm-hmm. Most of these people wouldn't have even been able to go out and march if they was working, right? You would not have had such a big impact if these people had their regular lives to live, and it would have gotten muted down just like all the ones before it. This one's a little special. People have died from COVID. Rest in peace. But if COVID wasn't there, this wouldn't have happened like this. Mm-hmm. The gravity of all of these people all over the nation, whatever happened, good or bad, the spotlight. Now these companies are like, oh my God, we need to do something. We know what they really about. But hey, if you're going to put something and write it and put it on the books, it's still a win. Mm-hmm. No matter how you feel underneath it all, it's in writing. It's a part of your policy now. Let's go. Let's keep doing what we got to do to make the change. If we didn't have this impact, it wouldn't. How many times have people marched in our lifetimes whenever somebody got killed? Right. It was filmed on camera, whatever, Rodney King, all these different things. We didn't really get to see. Like I always keep saying, thank God for camera phones. Right. But we didn't, this is different. I feel like this is different. And because it's different and the spotlight is on it, this is the prime opportunity for us to jump in and do our part. Mm-hmm. Seriously, it's about education, educating the youth, as much education as possible that can go out there in the world and having many faces singing the same song, right, saying this is what's wrong. It's always been here. Y'all keep thinking it's about George Floyd. It's not. It's about everything that's happened before him and everything that's going to happen after him, because it ain't over. No. And we have to take that anger and funnel it and make some real change. I try to, there's a lot more that I can do, but I try to come on here and try to be informative about things that are going on and really get into the guts of the emotions, because the emotions is the part that a lot of people kind of overlook. They look at the surface, but they need to understand the feeling beneath it. And that's why I wanted you to come on here. That's why when I have a panel, I may have one professional on there, and everybody else is just regular people just going through it together. Like we all in this together. And normally what happens when you put everybody up, everybody got the same story. That's the crazy part. Everybody got a similar story, but we are so detached from each other, but we live in the same existence. We going through the same stuff. Like I said on the last show, we all got a police story. I didn't even have to ask y'all that. I already know it. So that's what it is. So we're gonna wrap it up. And we're gonna we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. And that's it. I don't see any more. Michelle says I had this talk with my all-white team on Friday. You really gotta you really gotta educate people. Hold on one second. I want y'all to meet somebody real quick. She's gonna end up being my producer in a couple weeks because I'm gonna train her. This is Sydney. You want to be on the show?
What's that? Can't leave the room there.
So anyway, guys, we out of here, and I will see you guys next week.
Peace out.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, cause better relationships need better ingredients, so if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, Derrick Jones the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo.